has emerged in Daredevil Born Again, and it happened again in episode 7. We're here to analyze it, and later we'll interpret Vanessa's potential betrayal of Fisk, which can be seen in more than one way. So, this pattern that emerges, it comes out when Daredevil fights Muse after he tried to kill Heather in her office. Daredevil almost kills him again, but then something stops him in the nick of time. So, this actually happens like 4 times in Born Again so far. So in episode 1, here's the breakdown. He tries to kill Bullseye, but Bullseye survived the fall. Episode 2, it looked like Matt Murdock broke a cop's neck, but he survived. And then in episode 6, it looked like Daredevil might possibly kill Muse, but he suddenly had to stop to give Angela Del Toro CPR. So in this episode, Muse is lunging towards Heather with a knife, and Matt seems to be beating him to death. He literally just speared him like Mortal Kombat style, and Heather bails Daredevil out from killing by shooting Muse with a gun. So, questions for you guys, Doug and viewers. How are we supposed to read this? Is this fate? Is this some kind of divine intervention? Because, I mean, here's 4 times that Daredevil almost killed, and every time in the series, something outside of his control intervenes to prevent him from crossing the line. What do you think?
I mean, after a couple times, it's like, oh, that's coincidence. But, like you mentioned, this is 4th time this season alone. I can't think of anything in the past, but it's quite possible. It could be interpreted as divine intervention. Because he's struggling with being Daredevil. He doesn't want to be Daredevil. He wants to be a lawyer, but he can't ignore all the bad stuff that's happening. And in a way, if you wanted to tell a story like this, you could say God wants him to be Daredevil. And God knows that if he kills somebody, he's probably done. That's what's going to send him over the edge. He's teetering right now, but if he literally kills somebody, he's going to wake up the next day or a couple days later and be like, "Oh, that's it, completely done." So, yeah, you could look at it like God's got a hand in it.
Yeah, I mean, his tragedy, I think his trauma has such a hold on him that he can't stop himself in the moment. It's like what they call a crime of passion, like when you don't plan to kill somebody and then it happens. But I almost think it's a metaphor for like the idea that we need other people to help us through our, challenges like this. You can't face, I don't know, an addiction alone and things like that. So I think it's an interesting thing that they bring up. This actually happened. Do you remember talking about this when we covered Daredevil season 1, episode 5? When Daredevil was beating Vladimir, like outside, and then these corrupt cops come in and stop him just in the nick of time from what I thought was beating Vladimir to death.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that? Because we kind of talked about the fate thing then, and is this supposed to be like an intervention or something like that? And we weren't sure, but now, I mean, if you count that one, that's 5 times in the Daredevil series, 4 times this series that's happened. So I'm starting to think that there's something else behind it than just coincidence too.
Mm-hmm. And it could be, a nudge in the direction like, look, when season 1, he was by himself, and about halfway through, Foggy found out. So now he's got somebody to confide with in and everything like that. Season 2, Elektra, the Punisher, shows up. Then you got the Defenders, and he's there with Luke Cage and the Iron Fist. And, you've got Jessica Jones. He's been working with people or being able to confide in people for years. And then Foggy dies, and then he just backs away. And then all of a sudden he's back in it, and he's got this former detective. Is he former? No, he's detective.
He was a cop.
Yeah. I think he's retired or something like that. But he's the only one that knows that he can see on a regular basis. And that guy's saying, stop it. Quit being Daredevil. Don't do that. So he doesn't have that strong friendship. He doesn't have the strong, he's in a relationship. He's got somebody he loves, but he's lying to her. So, he can't. I think he's struggling this season because he doesn't have that person he can talk to, that person he can work with. He is pretty much all alone right now.
Yeah, that's super interesting because we don't know a lot about what happened in those years between season 3 and this one, but I wonder if Cherry doesn't trust him because he threw Bullseye off that roof. So Cherry thinks that Matt lost the right to be Daredevil. So he doesn't think putting the suit on is a good idea because he thinks he'll turn into a villain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Foggy and Karen, maybe they grounded him. And without that, he is just going to struggle like this. So I wonder now if that's going to cause him to either tell Heather who he is, bring somebody else into his life to help him support this, not all on his own, or Foggy and Karen are going to have to come back. And we've kind of talked about whether or not we think Foggy's going to return, but
He's
maybe
got
that's
to.
where this is all going,
I mean, they've got to bring him back because just reading through posts and everywhere else, there's so many people that are like, justice for Foggy, bring back Foggy and all this stuff. Even if they planned on killing him off and leaving him out for the rest of the time, there's definitely people in Disney and Marvel that are like, okay, in the comic books, he did fake his death. How do we write that in? Because I think people want him back.
Yeah. I
And
still think that the producers know that and they said a little too much already about what's going to happen. But this time when I was watching the show's opening theme, right, the music and the montage, thinking about all of this and how Matt's kind of struggling to be Daredevil again, I noticed what that opening montage was doing. I mean, we've got Lady Justice crumbling, the cathedral crumbling, and I think that's supposed to represent that he's in a faith crisis, and all the courtroom stuff crumbling. I feel like that means he's in like a moral crisis. So maybe like everything that was Daredevil, this is a deconstruction. It all crumbles, and then he's going to have to re-find his faith, which it seemed like he has found again based on the last episode, but he hasn't refound his ability to control his anger yet. So it is interesting. Maybe he's being rebuilt from the ground up. But then I noticed, oh yeah, there's all these clues in this opening song.
What episode is this? Or how many
7.
episodes do we have left? Did you
2.
say there's only
There's
2
9
episodes
total.
left?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we're nearing something major, I'm sure.
Well, I'm curious to see, because it seems like this has been a downer season for Matt Murdock. He lost his best friend, his other friend moved away. He found some common ground with the White Tiger and he's gone. He doesn't have anybody to confine with. He's in this new relationship with this woman that he loves. They said they love each other today, and yet he still has to lie to her. And that's got to be tough. So I can kind of see, because I know in the comics, they do out Daredevil as Matt Murdock. And I think it's Kingpin who does it, or Fisk. So I can kind of see that's where we're going. It's like, this is just going to be a rough season for Matt Murdock. And with 2 episodes left, I can almost see the last episode being like, kind of like Long Way From Home or whatever. The
No Way Home?
No Way Home? Not No Way Home, the one before that. Far From Home.
Yeah.
Right at the end, that's when they said Spider-Man is Peter Parker. And I mean, even with the, if this being a part of Marvel, I can totally see them ending like that. And it turns to Matt Murdock and he's like, what the? And then it cuts out just like the Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's why I don't understand why he donned the suit again or didn't go like put it on in the subway where no one would see you, because I mean, even if he had told Angel not to tell anyone who saved her, I mean, you knew this was going to get back to Fisk. So
Yeah.
I am so surprised that he would do that. And it's kind of a little bit careless on his part, which maybe goes to tell you maybe running around in the suit is an addiction of sorts. I mean,
Mhm.
I want him to be Daredevil. I just think if you're going to do it, like, don't let anybody see you swinging from those grapples, which I wouldn't mind them cutting those scenes anyways, because I don't really like watching him slinging around like Spider-Man on a
Yeah, that
CGI.
it's a little bit too
Yeah.
Spider-Man-esque.
Yeah.
But
Although I love the show, so I'm not going to knock it too hard.
no. It's been strong. And this goes more into the storytelling and not the TV show. And I don't even know if anyone's ever done this as a comic book character, but he knows that Fisk knows who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows of Daredevil, and he's like on the fence. Some people like him, some people don't. You know what? Throw it in a box. Break out something blue. Wrap your face and call you Mr. Blue.
Yeah, spray paint your suit,
Yeah, just
something.
take off the horns and
You could become the
become a
Tick.
different person. Yeah, the Tick. Exactly. But do something different. Dress in all black and just, I'm the ninja. I'm the Brooklyn
Bat
Ninja.
Ninja.
Yeah, or something. You don't have to break out the same suit again. I mean, I understand it's probably bulletproof and Batman proof and all that stuff. I don't think they went through it, but do something different. It's as simple
Yeah.
as that, unless this
Add a
does
cape.
have a lot to do with his ego.
Yeah, and you
If
do kind of
that's the
wonder
case,
that.
he wants Daredevil to be the person who scares everyone. Well, you know what? Let's leave Daredevil alone for a little bit and let's bring in the Python or whatever, and make them scared of them. And it's just like, well, if we take care of the Python, Daredevil still may come back, or you know what? Because I mean, all he's doing is beating people up. It's not like he has laser eyes or turns into a 10-foot
Yeah.
green monster that everyone would recognize. It's some dude who's really good with martial arts.
And he is different in this episode too. I mean, did you notice that, like, when Cherry's talking to him, I did see something that I sensed might be ego or just not thinking completely straight. He's kind of got this little sly smile, and I noticed that a couple times. So I wonder if he is kind of, I don't know, like embracing the suit a little too much, not thinking about the consequences, even with relationships like Cherry and with Heather. I really was concerned that, like, they were gonna break up right there, and then he says that, like, I can't, I feel like this isn't real, and then he kind of backpedals and explains it, and then they laugh, and I was like, oh, thank goodness. But for a second, I was like, no, don't say that. You're totally gonna blow it,
Yeah. Yeah, it's just weird that he keeps going that way. It's like, switch it up, do something different. If you don't want people to know who you are, obviously the mayor of the city knows, so
Yeah.
maybe we should just leave that alone. And anyway, I'm
Well,
taking the story a completely different direction. We can skip over that. What's your next question, or what do you
what
want to hit
about,
next?
like, killing Muse already this early in the season? I mean, this is I know he's not a classic villain. He's from like 2016 or
Yeah,
2017.
he's not even
But
10
can
years
you
old yet.
believe that I mean, were you surprised? I didn't think he was going to die this early. I thought if they killed him, it'd be the season finale.
It's hard to tell. I mean, however you want to look at him, he's popular because he is new, but you do have different iterations of him in the comic books. I mean, like I mentioned last time, in some comics he's an immortal. So now immortals apparently can die,
Is he like part
per
Martian?
Doctor Strange or whatever. What's that?
Is he like part Martian, or is he just eternal?
No, I think he's something like an Eternal, but they're called the Immortals. I didn't watch the TV show, so I don't know much about the Immortals.
I read the
But I
reviews and
know,
didn't watch. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it only lasted like half a season, so. But one of the characters from that TV show showed up in Doctor Strange, the Madness one, and yeah, he died. Scarlet Witch took care of him. and everyone else. But so yeah, it's in some comic books, it's like he's a godly creature, in others, he's just, well, like it is here, just some kid. And it's like, you know what? That's a creepy thing to kind of throw in there, but he's not Kingpin, he's not Bullseye, he's not the owl or the hand, and the big enemies of Daredevil. So he's still kind of new. So they're like, let's play with him a little bit. He's creepy looking. We can make this cool. Uh-oh. Okay, not yet. Good. Sorry, I'm in the middle of a tornado right now in Indianapolis. So if I disappear, my lights went way down. I'm in a basement, so I'm good.
Well, I liked Muse, and I'm just surprised. I'm concerned that they're going to run out of villains because, okay, I'll just list all the people who are dead. So, spoiler alert, this is going to spoil part of Jessica Jones season 1. So, skip ahead like 3 minutes if you don't want to hear this. But
there you go.
So Muse is dead. We've got the Owl, who was a classic villain who never got in the suit and died in the season finale of season 1. He does have a son, so there is that. The Purple Man is a Daredevil villain, but he died in Jessica Jones season 1. So, I mean, we're running out of villains here.
Yeah, I mean, I had where'd I had a list. It all disappeared. Oh, there we go. So, you still have the Hand out there.
Yeah.
So you can bring in multiple people from them. I'm looking at there. You got a Mr. Fear. Don't know who that is. Typhoid Mary. This one guy, Nuke. He's like, it's like an overzealous patriot or something. He's got the American flag tattooed on his face.
Oh, that could be interesting.
Especially with Kingpin or Fisk being in the government.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
And you know what? I mean, I'm not taking sides or anything, but right now, the overwhelming feeling of being American is super strong right now. And, you can take that in reality and put it into the show and then take it a step further where this guy, he's almost like Peacemaker from the DC universe. He's just like, I take out everyone. But, you got classic, because he's in New York, him and Spider-Man share a lot of villains. So, Mysterio could show up again. I mean, how cool would it be if Jake Gyllenhaal just popped up one day? Now
that would be cool. I would be down for that.
But I mean, there's a lot of different people they can bring in. Electro was another one, so Jamie Foxx could show up. So
no, not that. Please, not that.
But anyway, they've got plenty to work with. 2, they've got to start weaving him into the MCU. I mean, is he going to show up in Secret Wars? They already showed like 27 chairs, but I didn't see his name. But they got to bring them in too. Are they going to work that story, or is he just going to be, I'm down here in Hell's Kitchen. Oh yeah, New York almost blew up, but I was hanging out down here. We're good here. We're good here. So, there's plenty of ways I can go with that.
Okay.
I'll stop.
Okay, that's good. Still more toys in the toy box.
Oh, yeah.
I liked the psychology element of this season, and it comes out again in this episode, where first Heather actually accuses Matt Murdock of being she doesn't accuse him, but she asks him if he's doing self-harm because she finds to cope with his own trauma. He's just like plowing through it and sort of blocking it out, and to the point where he doesn't recognize it when it starts to spill out.
Nathan Snyder. I got our YouTube channel up live, and you just paused for like 20 seconds.
Oh, okay. So should I?
So no idea what you just said there.
Okay, well, I was talking about that scene where Heather finds Daredevil in the shower when he's got that big bloody bruise on his back, and she asks him, she's like, "Are you dealing with self-harm?" and talks about how, well, maybe his trauma is so great and he hasn't dealt with it that he actually doesn't recognize when it takes control and when it starts to spill out. So, oh, that makes me wonder. Like just right now, I'm like, when she saw him almost kill Muse, will she recognize that whoever was fighting Muse is doing that same thing that maybe Matt's doing? Like, I wonder if that's one of the ways that she'll identify him. That, and he said her name when he was trying to save her. But do you read that maybe some of what Daredevil is for Matt is a coping mechanism?
I mean, I guess I never thought about it, but it's possible. I think he's just, again, it goes all the way back to the way he was raised, was that you got to stand up for the little guy. And I think he's just obsessed with that. He doesn't want to go out and get hurt and fight people and hurt people and possibly kill people and lose friends. And, he wants to be a lawyer. He wants to put bad guys in jail. That's all he wants to do. But the way his father raised him to fight for the little guy, to never give up, it's just, that's what he's known since he was 10 years old or whatever. And then, still at a young age, he was taken and shown how to fight and do all this stuff. And so it's in him. I don't think, he's, the way I see it, he's not trying to cope with something. He's not trying to be famous. It's just that he can't help himself to not help others. But he's so scared of killing somebody or going over that line because he is a lawyer. He is somebody who wants to do the right thing every time they can. So yeah, I think that's what he's struggling with, is like, I don't want to do this, but I have to.
See, I feel like once he put the suit on, it's like he loved it, and he almost doesn't recognize that he's struggling. But he did tell Heather that he was struggling, so it came out there. But like he could confide in Cherry maybe, but I mean, he's the only other
Cherry
person
doesn't want him to do it, though.
Yeah, and maybe if he did confide in him, Cherry would be like, "Nah, you're not ready." So,
well, I think I like what you said earlier when you said that Cherry saw him just throw the guy off the roof, and he's like, "You can't be that guy anymore. You tried to kill somebody. I'm not going to put you away for that, but from now on, you're done with this." Maybe that's the way he's seeing it. And, again, that could go towards where the season is going, is that Cherry's going to leave him, be like, you did this. I told you you're done, blah, blah, blah. I'm gone. And now he lost the only person he can confide in. And then, if Heather finds out, she wrote a book about being in, People Against Masks, right? Or something like that. Or that's what she's working on next. That's her next book. Yeah.
But I couldn't tell if she was anti-mask or just fascinated with it.
I thought,
like she's anti with Muse, but I think she's trying to goad him into making a mistake so she can escape. When she says, like, you can't talk to me unless you have the mask on, you're a coward. She's obviously trying to get him to take it off.
Yeah.
Because, she's recognizing that he has I think, dissociative identity disorder, because he's like, there is no Muse, I mean, so she's trying to get him to take the mask off so that she'll talk to her as Bastion, and then maybe she has a chance. But I didn't necessarily take that scene that she would see Matt negatively for wearing the mask. I'm not sure. What do you think? Because I was thinking that she was specifically, like, the context of that was to get a certain reaction out of Muse, turn him back into Bastion. And she wouldn't necessarily say, well, Matt, you're a coward for wearing a mask.
It's hard to tell. I mean, at that point, I think she thought she was going to die.
Oh, yeah.
And she was just like, if I'm going out, I'm not going to, I'm going to make sure I'm heard. And, she very well could have been just like telling the truth before she's, her last hurrah, if you will, or whatever. I mean, she very well could have been doing what you said too. Actually, that's smarter and sounds better. But
Strategy.
yeah, if she really thought about that in the moment, and she's a psychologist, she knows what's going through people's minds. So maybe that was the smart way to go. I don't know. But I think you can look at it either way. I mean, we could find out here in the next couple weeks.
Man, I swore she was going to die, and I was like, please no, please no. Because I'm thinking, first of all, I like this character. And second of all, like Matt has seen so many people around him die or like he's alone. I did not want her to die too. So I'm glad that she's here. I hope they don't like break up over her finding out he's Daredevil. But there's this trope, and I'm afraid the show will go there that superheroes have to remain single. And, Spider-Man tried to marry Peter Parker to Mary Jane, and they decided, oh, people aren't interested. That ruins the character. So they fixed that in the comics and made him single again. And then if you ever watched that show, the Superman show from the 90s, Lois and Clark, The Adventures of Superman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, as soon as like everybody wanted to see Lois and Clark get married, and as soon as they got married, like that was their biggest episode, and then the ratings tanked after that. So I'm like, at this point, like the cliche is that they must remain single. So I'm hoping, well, maybe the writers will challenge themselves, get creative, and say, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to get them together. They don't have to do it for the next 2 or 3 seasons. Like they don't have to make a permanent commitment anytime soon. But I think it would be cool if they found a way to show how difficult it would be to like be a married superhero and actually do this well. So I don't know. I'd love to see them not fall into that trope because I'm totally expecting
Yeah.
that they're going to kill her off or she's going to get mad. And this character, I actually kind of looked for clues in the comic book. So I read about her, and I won't tell you any spoilers here because I don't want to mess up your viewing experience. But if you do read about it, this character in the show, it's basically like they took the name and completely changed who she actually is. She's not a therapist in the comics. She's a socialite of a rich businessman, and she's nothing like she is in the show. So I think this is Heather Glenn in name only compared to the comics. So that makes me think maybe she won't have the same fate. And I don't know that the fate in the comics makes sense for her. So
Fate,
we'll
come
see.
on, everyone knows what fate means.
Oh man, yeah, it's not the same character, so I don't think they're gonna do what they did in the comic. So
Well, it's
yeah,
going to
because
be interesting.
Okay, yeah,
Sorry, finish your thought.
I was gonna say that in the comic she's like your I don't know, like your wild party girl or something. I don't know, like
Oh, yeah.
out on the town. It's just not even the same character at all. So I don't think it's going in the same direction.
Yeah. Well, you're seeing that a lot in the show because I got it up here. Let me look up a couple names here, but like Cole North, the black cop, part of that crew in the comics, he's a good cop who hates bad cops. And he actually gets beat up by bad cops a lot because of that. And one time when he was getting beaten up by bad cops, he was saved by Luca. And so there's all kinds of weird stuff when it comes to stuff like that. But it's going to make it interesting moving forward if they don't kill her off. Mainly because either she's either going to get killed off or she's got to find out, right? So now you got to determine, does she cancel her sessions with Fisk because she was sleeping with a guy who is a mortal enemy of the man she is now the therapist for?
Yeah.
Or does she keep that, break up? She may just ignore it and break up with Matt when she finds out, or will she be a spy for him and be all into it? And so there's different ways it can go, but each way is like gets a little sinister, because she's going against what she believes if she continues to be Fisk's therapist, if she knows that Murdoch is Daredevil. So
Yeah, that could get complicated.
that's going to be a tough story to tell.
Mhm.
Be a lot easier to just kill her off.
Oh, maybe Fisk tells her who he is in a session. I don't know.
Could be too.
Yeah. So there's one more thing I wanted to ask you about before we wrap up. It's the
Sure.
ending. Vanessa texts Luca to tell him that Fisk is dining alone. You know, that we're not sure if Vanessa is actually gonna betray Fisk, but Luca wants to get rid of Fisk. He's not making any money anymore. So we find out Vanessa told Luca um, where Fisk was. So it's a setup. But I wondered how you read this scene because we don't really know if she actually betrayed Fisk or if she told him and they were like, oh, let's set this up and let's get rid of Luca. Or did she tell Luca and Fisk already expected Luca to try to kill him based on the extra $1 million that he was charging him for tax?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I mean,
That's 3 ways to read it.
yeah. The other times when he's around and Buck Cashman is with him, that's the new guy. He's not hiding in a corner or anything like that. He's just sitting there talking to him. But in this situation, he's in a shadow where you can't see him. He's got, I'm sure he's already got his gun up, ready to kill. They knew that Luca was coming there. So either A, he's got some kind of, he hacked her phone and he knows what she's doing.
I wonder if he bugged it. Yeah.
Yeah. Or
You could
B,
clone it.
yeah. B, they decided together, both Fisk and Vanessa
Yeah.
to betray Luca and just be like, I'll tell him you're here. When he walks in, just have Buck kill him. So
Yeah.
we'll find that out next week, I guess.
I wondered if there was a way we were supposed to read it. Like, were we supposed to think like, oh, they set up Luca? Or were we supposed to think, uh-oh, Vanessa is outed? And the director said it's supposed to be ambiguous. So they are messing with us right here. This scene is a mystery.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that could be, like I said, the way what pushes Fisk over the edge to become the true kingpin is that the woman he loved just betrayed him.
See,
And
that's
now he's
kind of
gonna,
what I'm hoping they do.
yeah.
But I wonder if they would mess with the idea of like him having a blind spot, for her. I don't know because he loves her so much. But then again, like when a narcissist turns on someone, it's usually like terrifying. And I kind of think that would be the best TV. So my vote is that she betrayed him. It's really a coin flip, but she betrayed him. He found out and he's pretending like nothing happens until something really bad happens later.
Yeah. I think he's kind of setting her up personally and
So Kingpin versus Kingpin is.
esque. Yeah.
I gotta stop saying that. I didn't mean to. All right. So, well, we're going to cover the next episode live a week from today. So join us for that. You can watch all of season 1 on our YouTube, almost, because we haven't released it all yet. But yeah, head over there if you want to revisit season 1 and analyze it. We'll talk to you soon.
R.I.P. guys.
It's not in.